I spoke with Tennessee Senator, member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and former U.S. Ambassador to Japan, Senator Bill Hagerty. Senator, nice to see you, sir.
It's good to be with you, Greta.
A lot of things are going on in the world, especially right now in China. An unusual group of people have gotten together, or maybe it isn't so unusual.
Well, it's a real cast of characters, if you want to say that. I think President Reagan used to call them the axis of evil. You think about who was there. Kim Jong-un's there from North Korea, Vladimir Putin, President Xi, the Iranians were there. It looks like Xi Jinping is reaching out to anyone who's out of favor, trying to create this image of an alliance. But let me say this, there's no real alliance there. It's a marriage of convenience.
Well, I wonder if we were invited. I mean, I wouldn't expect that we would be, but if the United States was.
I actually know the answer to that,
Well,
but
okay.
I don't know if it's classified or not. But I'll say this, the United States, not to this particular event, but to the one before it, the United States has a long history, actually, of helping other nations. In fact, 80 years ago, the United States shed blood. If you think about it, had we not been involved in World War II, China might be under Japanese control right now.
And I think that there is not a full appreciation of that in China. I think that China right now today thinks they did it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how revisionist history works under Xi Jinping. The Chinese seem to have fully forgotten all of that, and they can only remember grievances. But the fact is that were it not for the United States of America stepping in World War II, China would be a very different place.
You know, China's a very curious place to me, especially with respect to trade. We're so dependent on them, and they are so dependent on us. And they're flooding our streets with the precursor drugs for fentanyl that get packaged by the cartels in Mexico, and then it comes up in the United States and kills more people than we lost in Vietnam in 15 years. Yeah. And yet we still deal with them. I don't know how we extricate ourselves from dealing with them.
You know, it hasn't always been the case. I first lived in Asia back in the late 1980s, early 1990s. I worked for a firm called the Boston Consulting Group, and they sent me to the region at that point in time. I was in Tokyo, Japan. At that point, China was definitely a third world economy. They were riding bicycles in Beijing. But we changed the world for China. President Clinton, I believe, was the one that signed it, but we brought them into the World Trade Organization. China never abided by the rules. In fact, they used that mechanism to cheat. They subsidized, they used predatory practices like stealing our intellectual property, different rule set for American companies that want to go and compete on Chinese soil, and they certainly don't hesitate to subsidize to compete against us. But they've been able to use the WTO as a mechanism to come into the World Trade Mechanism and really enrich themselves dramatically.
Well, that's not so true of North Korea, though, which is hermetically sealed from the world. They have nuclear weapons, so they're scary. But they are sealed off from the world. I mean, all the money goes to their military. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been there a couple times, and the people are hungry there.
Yeah. In fact, the average North Korean, even though they're the same gene pool as the South Koreans, same peninsula, the average North Korean is now 4 inches shorter than the average South Korean. This is all due to malnutrition.
Which I always say when I'm there is it's the only country in the world I can go to where I fit in the chairs. I'm 5'3", and it's because, you know, nothing has changed since 1953 in North Korea. But it's so sad. It's so sad for the people. They aren't growing.
So I've been to North Korea. I've taken my family there. We've had the opportunity to engage on numerous occasions with what they call North Korean defectors. These are young people generally who've escaped from North Korea. They've made their way out. And to hear their stories, very, very tragic of what they've suffered through. And it's an incredibly challenging and difficult situation. And Kim Jong-un and his family, the Kim family, have ruled that for 3 generations. And they use an iron fist. And if there's ever anybody that steps out of line, well, they're brought right back in if they're still alive.
Who would keep you up more at night? Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, or Kim Jong-un?
Well, Xi Jinping, obviously, with the resources and the reach that he's got, the scale of China's economy is enormous. If you think about Vladimir Putin, certainly he's got a nuclear arsenal that has to be dealt with, but their economy is essentially entirely based on energy. I think it was John McCain that said it's basically, you know, a fuel station with a flag attached to it. The North Korean economy is tiny by comparison. So again, you take a country like Russia, its economy might rank itself, the 7th or 10th largest state in America. North Korea is minuscule from an economic standpoint. Again, this is why these dictators turn to nuclear weapons as a means to be recognized and as a means to get outsized influence. China, on the other hand, is a real economy. They're the #2 economy in the world. They've got a massive, human resources that are there, and certainly that's a different set of circumstances to deal with.
Senator, there's a lot to talk about all these, but unfortunately in television we don't get a whole lot of time. But I do hope you'll come back because there's a lot more to talk about.
Great to be with you, Greta. Thank you.
Nice to see you, sir.
Certainly.